You know that you should, emphasis on should. Oh, I'm playing myself. You know that you should be emailing your list regularly. But what do you say when you're not launching and you're not actively selling something? There's an awkward in between space there that so many educators find themselves ghosting their list. It's easier in a lot of ways to actually sell and to write emails for launches and for sales because you know exactly what to say and where to lead people, right? But what do you say when you're not selling, when you're not launching? This is actually the best time to be connecting with your list because it's the time where they can come to know and trust you and get to know you better. When you're selling, you are focused on them, you're focused on your offer, and those are all really good things. But we also want to make sure that we're taking the time to share about ourselves, to share about the behind the scenes, and share about how we can help share education. So today, I'm going to break down 5 different emails that you can send to your list when you are not in launch mode, even if you don't have anything to promote. If you have any questions as we are working our way through this lunch and learn, please drop them in the chat. This is a great time to get my take on an email you might send. Um, or just to ask about email marketing questions in general is kind of what we're going to talk about today. So, any questions you have, pop them in the chat if you're here with me live. If you are watching the replay of this later, let me know in the comments and I'll come back and answer them for you. So, why does it matter? Before we jump into those 5 emails, why does it matter? Why do we need to make sure that we are not only sending emails during a launch phase or leading up to a launch? And that's because consistency is so important. Because if you're not consistent, if you're ghosting your audience, you're actually eroding the foundation of trust that you have built with them. Think about it this way. If you have a friend who always flakes when you make plans, you know that every single time that you make plans, it's probably not going to happen. And most likely they're going to end up ghosting you. Well, you don't have trust that you're going to actually make plans with this friend, right? They've eroded the trust that you have for them by consistently flaking and consistently not showing up or consistently canceling at the last minute. They've eroded that trust. And when you aren't consistently showing up for your people, you're doing the same thing. When you are only sending them emails during a launch, they only think of you as someone who's looking to make money off of them instead of someone who's trying to help them and serve them in some way. And now I know that you are trying to serve them, you're trying to help them, and you really just get stuck in this fight or flight, I don't know what to say mode. But it doesn't feel like that to them. It feels like you're just after their money. And so we need to make sure that we're consistent to build that trust. It also helps keep you top of mind. Let's be honest, all of our inboxes are jam packed and we're all constantly cleaning them out. And then somehow they get filled back up again, right? We are following a lot of people. We are letting a lot of people into our inboxes. And so it's important that you stay top of mind by being consistent. However, consistent doesn't mean constant. So you don't need to post every day or send an email every day. You don't even need to send one every week. But I would suggest every other week if possible. So, what do you share? What do you talk about? Glad you asked. I've got 5 emails for you. The first is simply to teach something. Give them something bite size. Give them a 2-minute takeaway, right? This could be something that you go into a piece of long form content you already have written and take one small piece from it. You don't need to take an entire blog post and give them a summary of it, but you could go in and take one of your headings in that one section from a blog post and just share about that one thing. And in fact, if you have a blog post that's 5 types of anything, like this is 5 types of emails that you could send, right? I could take all 5 of these emails or oh yeah, all 5 of these emails, this is gonna sound really meta. I can take all 5 of these emails that I'm going to share with you today and turn it into 5 different emails where for a month, I just send an email that says, "Hey, send this kind of email to your list this week." And that's it. That's really simple. So you take that longer form content and you break it down into bite sized pieces to teach them just one tiny thing. Now, you don't have to repurpose content you already have. You can come up with bite sized things on your own. You can share um, something that you've just been thinking about, or maybe you take a small part of what you teach your clients, or a small part from a course, or something like that. But something educational that is bite sized, 2-minute tutorial, give them an action step. Boom, there's an email for you. Now, the second type of email that you could send is a behind the scenes peek. Now, you could do this in a variety of ways. You could share something that you're working on actively. This is great when you're not really in launch mode yet, but you already know what your next launch is going to be. And so you want people to start thinking about it and learning about it. This is a great time for that. Just sharing, hey, here's what I'm working on this week. And eventually this will be part of my new course or my new offer, right? I'm working on this new chat bot and I got that set up. Just sharing a behind the scenes of what's happening in your business. You could also share just something you're learning. Maybe you're reading or listening to a great book and you just want to share that. That's a whole email that you could send and just say, hey, here you go. I'm reading this. I really loved this point in chapter 3. And man, I just couldn't wait to share it. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about it. And if you decide to read it, let me know. That's a whole email. You could also just talk about something you're planning and something that you are working towards, a goal you have. You could share an update that you've made to an offer you already have. That's a great one. A lot of times we get stuck in this, well, I'm only going to share about this offer when I'm launching it or when it's brand new. And we forget to keep sharing as we're upgrading and updating it. And it's not something that needs to be salesy, but just a simple, oh my gosh, I created these badges for my playbook students. And now in my member directory, everyone who is a playbook student, or if they are in the VIP tier of the Chase and Simple Marketing, the community, they have these little badges besides their names. And it's so fun and exciting. Like, that's something I did last week that I could have and probably should have written an email about and shared. And it's fun and it's exciting and it's not selling, but it is keeping your offers top of mind. And it's worth sharing about and letting people know what it is that you're working on behind the scenes to improve what you're already working on. And now this works. These type of emails work because they keep your stuff top of mind, but they also help build connection. When you're saying, man, this is something that I've really been struggling with, and so I picked up this book and this changed my whole mindset about this. You should read this book too. Well, that humanizes you. It builds connection. Oh man, I've been struggling with that too. I should read that book. I should check that out. Or, oh, she's working on doing this thing in the behind the scenes of her business. I've got that goal too. Maybe I'm going to ask a question and say, hey, how are you doing that? What are you thinking as far as XYZ thing? I'd also love to build a membership. What platform are you on? Ask questions. It can lead to people asking questions, right? So these are things that you want to consider. What can you share behind the scenes that's going to help build a connection with your people? Now, a lot of those examples were very business to business focused, but if you're someone who is, um, let's say you're a personal trainer, right? If you are sharing workouts, I'm thinking like I've started following Grow with Joe here on YouTube and doing her cardio workouts because it helps me get more steps in, especially when the weather's gross outside. Someone like her, well, she doesn't have to share just here's what how I'm working out, but she could send an email to me and be like, "Man, I read this book about I'm just making something up, but maybe she read like How to Winter, which is one I read recently, which was really good, by the way. Um, I read this and it's been great for this thing and blah, 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 blah. The reason it still makes sense is because it's still personal growth. Someone who's interested in improving themselves physically is also probably interested in improving themselves in other ways. So, sharing personal growth books could also be a great thing. All that being said, there are a lot of things you can do and a lot of things you can share that don't have to necessarily be the thing you teach on, but can be related and still be worthwhile to your people and still be worth sending that email and building that connection. Now, along those same lines of books, you could also send an email that curates different recommendations that you have. So, actually, as I was planning out today's episode, today's Lunch and Learn, I was thinking about possibly doing X amount of marketing books that have improved my marketing or um, X courses or something like that. Like I was thinking along the lines of actually doing a curation recommendation type where I took courses that I've taken or um, other educators that I trust or books or something like that, and putting together a whole bunch of them and saying, you might want to check these out too. Here are some great examples. I actually may still do that episode in the future. So if you're curious about an episode like that, let me know in the comments and in the chat. But curating and creating a recommendation list and then turning that into an email is another great thing because you're providing value. You're sharing what's helped you and what you feel like is worth your people's time. And time is such a precious commodity that if you are saying, this is worth your time, I've already checked it out, they're more likely to go, oh, this is great. These are valuable resources. I'm going to stick around next time they open, I'm going to stick around and open an email next time they send it to me. So if you can also tie it to your audience's goals, even better, like marketing, in my instance, bonus points for that, but doesn't have to be. And then another thing you can do, we talked a little bit about taking a snippet from a long form content like a blog post and turning it into an educational based email, but you could just repurpose content in general. So you can take long form content, you can take a snippet out of it. You could summarize it and just send people to it. That's a really easy way to create content and to share an email. If your goal is to share an email every week, that's a really great way to do it. You can just give it a little introduction. Here's this problem that you have. Here's what you need to do to fix it. Oh, and by the way, I've got this podcast episode, go listen to it. Or I've got this blog post, go read it. I've got this freebie. And so creating content that leads directly to, and all you're doing is summarizing. You're not recreating the wheel, but you're going, here's what I can share with you. And if you want a deeper look at it, go here. That's a great way to repurpose long form content. It's really, really easy. You can do the pull just one little piece from it into an email as well. You could also take an Instagram caption that did really well and copy and paste it and turn it into an email and just add a little bit more to it and maybe a different call to action and encouragement to actually reply back or something like that and use that content you've already created and just give it a little bit more, turn it into an email and do the same thing there. So that's the fourth type, repurposing from other content. And there's a lot of different ways that you can repurpose content into an email. And then finally, just ask a question. Just send a short email that is literally just geared towards asking a question. So, something I did recently, actually, if you're on my email list, you probably saw this email last week. I'm planning a workshop right now, and I wanted help choosing the title. And so I sent a list of titles and said, hey, I'm working on this workshop. Here's what it's going to be about. Here are the 5 titles that I've come up with. Which one do you like best? That was the whole point of that email, was just to ask a question and to get a response. That's it. And obviously it helps me with the workshop as well, but that's all the email was just asking a question. I wasn't teaching, I wasn't doing anything else. I was just saying, "Hey, here's what I'm working on, a little behind the scenes, and this is what I'm hoping it's going to do for you. Which of these sounds best?" Here's a question. These help build engagement, help spark that feedback, which when someone responds to you, it builds more of that relationship. So it builds that know, like, and trust factor, but it also helps keep you top of mind for them. So it's building that relationship and it's building that, oh, when I see them in my inbox, I want to open it and I want to read it and I'm more interested in what they have to say. So those were the 5 types of emails that you could send this week. Choose one and just take 5 minutes and draft out an email. Um, if you have questions about any of these, let me know in the comments. If you have questions about email marketing in general, I would love to chat. It is one of my favorite things when it comes to marketing is creating and writing emails. So if you have any questions about it, let me know. But those 5 different types, again, teach something small, share a behind the scenes peek, curate or create a recommendations list, ask a question or invite some kind of response, and repurpose from other content. So, There's a wide range there from educational to engaging, all of which, though, is meant to help cement you as an expert in their eyes and build that know, like, and trust factor. Now, because I mentioned it already, I'm just going to say your book recommendation for this week is How to Winter. I do not remember the author's name, but if you live somewhere that's colder and maybe winter is not your favorite season like mine, um, I also realize the irony of recommending this in April, but I just read it last month. It's a great book. It really helped me change my mindset about winter, and I honestly plan to read it again come this fall, probably November-ish, once the weather starts to really turn and get gross here, and help me actually embrace winter this coming year because I am a summer girl, and if it's not summer, I hate the weather, and I want to change that. So it's a great book. Add it to your TBR list maybe for this fall if you feel similarly. And I hope that you'll join me back here, same time, same place next week for a really great lunch and learn with a fun guest. See you then.